right, let's go ahead and jump into our video on bar graphs. We're going to start getting nitpicky about which types of graph are appropriate for specific types of data. So if I am using a bar graph, I can be relatively certain that it is based on categorical data. And a bar graph is kind of what it sounds like. We're going to use bars to represent frequency. The height of the bar corresponds to the frequency for each category. We're going to have two axes, and we are plotting categories versus frequency. And you'll notice, unlike my last chart, I'm not going to get nitpicky about which one goes on the X and which one goes on the Y. Doesn't actually matter. If I do the categories on the X-axis, I'm going to get vertical bars. If I do frequency on the X, I'm going to get horizontal bars. Neither is right or wrong. There's no preference or cost to using one or the other. Oftentimes the decision is made when publishing as to which form will better fit on the paper. So it really doesn't matter. But if you are specifically asked for one or the other, now you know which variable goes where to produce the bars in the correct direction. I want to construct one with you really quick just so you see how they're built. And then if you have questions, you can email me. But let's go ahead and open up our example. So what you have here is a data table based on the population of a specific small town. We've broken that population down by age group. So we have children, working age adults, and retirees. And then I have two extra columns with numbers in them. I have a number of people column, which is a count, which I recognized as frequency in statistics class. And then I have a column with percentages that's labeled proportion of population. And in statistics, percentage and proportion are used interchangeably. They are comparing a piece to the whole. And in statistics, we typically call these relative frequencies. How big a group do the children make up of the whole population? When I make my bar graph, I can plot frequency or relative frequency. When my frequencies are small, this is usually easier to plot because I need to do some calculations to get these. If I am comparing two or more sets of categorical data, I want to do a bar graph comparing the percentage of kids who have off-campus privilege at my high school versus the neighboring high school. In that case, I would want to do a relative frequency because my high school is the smallest in the district. And so the bars will be skewed because my sample will be smaller and my population is smaller than the neighboring high schools is. So if I am comparing across groups where sample size or population size is a concern, relative frequency is preferred. But both are generally correct. We're going to go ahead and do one for this data set, and we're going to do relative frequencies because plotting 19, 43, and 38 is a lot less scary than plotting that frequency column. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot up. I know I need two axes. On the first axis, I need three categories. And when I draw bar graphs, there needs to be a gap between the bars. And that gap is usually about half the size of the bar. So I'm going to do bars that are 2 grid wide, and then I'm going to leave a gap of 1 grid point. So I'm going to start here with 0, I have a gap, and then I have a bar of 2, a gap of 1, a bar of 2, a gap of 1, a bar of 2, a gap of 1. So my bars are going to be here, here, and here. And I'm going to go ahead and label them. So I've got children, I've got working age adults, and then I've got, oops, that's not where that should be. Come on, Mr. J. There we go. And then I've got retirees. I'm also going to label this with what those are. Those are age group categories. And then I need my other axis to be frequency or relative frequency. And the biggest relative frequency is 43. I have to start at 0. I think I'll count by 5s. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and then 1 extra to give me counting room. I'm going to put percent up here because this is a percentage that I'm plotting on the axis, and that percentage represents the relative frequency. You could also write the title of that column, which in our table was proportion of population. That would be another acceptable label. From here, I'm going to draw a bar for each category, and the height of the bar will be the relative frequency for that category. So for children, I need a bar height of 19. So that's going to be a little bit less than 20. And we have to fight with Apple to get anything that is not on that line. There we go. And if I'm looking at this bar as somebody who's reading it and I wasn't here watching me draw it, how do I know that's exactly 19 if I don't have the table in front of me? So if you have two values that are between hash marks, you can always write the number above the bar. Next one is 43. So that's up here. And then my last one is 38, which is halfway between 35 and 40. And that is a completed bar graph. If you have any questions on how we drew that or what information is in that graph, feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, I will see you in our next video.